Okay, it is Thursday, July 1st. I'm recording a video down in Carlton, Michigan. This is one of the keyboards that I've discussed having, one of the old IBM keyboards with the big clicky-clacky keys. Keyboard sufficiently substantial enough to beat a Russian sailor to death with. Here is one pink arm. Here's another pink arm. Oh my, I am sunburned. I, of course, was wearing the sunglasses, and so I have the raccoon eyes. Let's see, will I show myself for a moment? Yes, the raccoon eyes. Yeah, that's all you're going to get, plus my hair's a mess. Anyway, so, it is Thursday, July 1st, and I'm going to be taking a road trip tomorrow. I'm going to head over to Flint, Michigan, and take a look at Kettering University for myself. Just because, well, gosh, I'm suddenly very interested in Kettering. When I first went to college, the first time I went to Northern, I had to drive by myself to get there. I took myself to college. It was a 450-mile trip. It took about 10 hours with my loaded car, and it was... well, honestly, it was fairly depressing for me. I would rather have had company on the trip. I'm not sure how you're doing your trip, but I hope that you have an enjoyable trip to college. I stayed in the dormitory when I was at Northern, and my first roommate was a fellow named Christian. I can't remember his last name, but his first name was Christian. He went by Chris. I had been collecting knives for quite a while. I started collecting at like 11 or 12. Whenever I was allowed to have my first knife, I started collecting knives and spending my allowance on knives. And when I moved into the dormitory, I brought a bunch of the knives with me. And I kept them all in a drawer in my desk. And one day we were getting a Papa John's, I think it was Papa John family sub. And it was pretty big, and it came in, and we needed a knife to cut it. And Kristen said, "Do you have a knife?" And I said, "What size knife do you want?" And I opened up my drawer of knives, and he saw all of the different type of hunting knives and folding knives and other things that I had in there, fixed blade knives. And he said, "Holy crap." But a little bit later, I'm not sure if it was a Christmas present or whatever, but eventually he bought me this as a gift. This is a little Gerber knife. It's pretty small, pretty light. It has a hole there to fit on a key ring. And for many, many years, I kept this on my key ring. I used it all the time to open up my mail. I used it as a letter opener. I used it for a variety of other things. And in fact, I always kept it on my key ring from the time I was in college until right around the Columbine disaster, Columbine shooting. At the Columbine shooting, a lot of things changed for school teachers, as well as for high school students. One of them is the zero tolerance policy for any sort of weapon. At that point, this little tiny thing became a weapon, and I was not allowed to carry it in school, even as a teacher. Not too long after that, there were some things that happened, and I was also no longer able to carry it onto airplanes in my pocket. So I used to carry this with me everywhere, but I was not able to continue carrying it with me after the Columbine shooting, and definitely not after 9/11. Also, when I first went to college, I joined the ROTC well, not a program, I joined a class. It was called Military Wilderness Survival. And as a result of that class, I was issued, let's see, can I get a good focus? Not really. I was issued dog tags. And they say, none of this is very clear because the focus isn't working, but it says, oh, I'm holding it upside down. Maybe that's the problem. Let's see, there we go. That's a little clearer. So it says Vasic Robert R, and then it has my social security number, and it has my religion and my blood type, or rather my blood type and religion. My blood type was unknown at the time. It's A negative, and my religion was none at the time, and that's pretty much what my religion is. I was brought up a Catholic, but I currently don't practice any religion. Anyway, so I went to college, I got this pocket knife, I got the dog tags, and when I went away to college, my mother divided up the labor, she said. She gave my grandfather, the one who gave me the wedding ring, she gave my grandfather the duty of writing me letters. She gave one of my other grandmothers the duty, she gave my grandfather the duty of writing me letters. She gave one of my grandmothers the duty of worrying about me, and another one of the grandmothers the duty of praying for me. Well, I don't know how much the worrying or praying helped, but I do know that the letters from my grandfather helped a great deal. He wrote me every week. Most of the time the letters were pretty mundane, just talking about what was going on that day. Some of them were pretty unusual or creative, and he made up a bunch of stories. And one of the things that I decided listening to his stories, both the true stories and the made-up stories, was that when I was a grandfather, I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to have all kinds of stories. Now, one of the things that I had decided I was going to tell my grandchildren, if I was able, I was going to tell them stories of my youth, and I was going to tell them that way back in the day, I was a pirate on the Great Lakes. Now, grandkids thinking about grandparents' ages don't really have an idea of what was going on when their grandparents were young, so I figured that maybe my grandkids would believe me if I told them that I was a pirate when I was a young man. And I figured that I could give the story a bit more credibility if I carried or kept some sort of treasure map. Now, my grandmother and grandfather, for some reason, started collecting quarters. They started collecting bicentennial quarters, during the bicentennial, 1976. So from 1976 on, anytime we got a bicentennial quarter, we brought it to Grandpa or Grandma, and they would give us a quarter for it, and usually an extra quarter. And so over the years, they collected thousands and thousands of these quarters. I think by the time my grandmother passed away, my grandfather passed away first, by the time my grandmother passed away, each of the grandkids inherited 4,000 bicentennial quarters. So I have this big pile of bicentennial quarters. And I always thought it would be cool to get a big treasure chest and fill it with these bicentennial quarters and bury it somewhere that I knew it would be safe, and have a treasure map for my grandchildren to seek out and find. I even toyed with the idea of getting the treasure map tattooed on my scalp and then letting my hair grow over it. I've still got all my hair, so I figured if I got a skull tattoo, it wouldn't actually show. But I thought it would be a very cool story, especially because I could show them the tattoo under my hair and make them wonder, is there really treasure buried where he says it's buried? And then have a provision in my will that my grandchildren are supposed to follow the treasure map or follow a copy of the treasure map and dig up my treasure. And then, of course, hopefully the treasure would still be there, the thousands of bicentennial quarters buried in a treasure chest. I thought that would be a cool idea. I thought it would be a cool thing to do with the quarters that I inherited from my grandfather and grandmother. I thought it would be a good story for the grandchildren to tell, and I thought it would be fun to do. Now, obviously, I haven't done that yet. I don't have grandchildren. I haven't buried treasure anywhere, but I thought it would be the kind of thing that someone that follows my sense of humor might enjoy, and I know my grandfather would certainly appreciate the humor of it. So, anyway, so that's sort of a far-reaching, far-ranging entry. So, I love you, Cheyenne. Congratulations. Enjoy the beginning of your school year at Kettering. And, enjoy the summer. I love you.